Hello. Yeah, welcome to Basic Science. It's Basic Science now, and I hope you are ready. Nothing is there to distract you. You are not actually watching the online class or taking the online classes and doing something else that will not allow you to fully concentrate on what you are doing. And hope you are well, just like Mr. Fumi is, and you are smiling, you know, being nice to everybody around you. Yes. So in basic science today, we'll be talking about animals. I'm sure you know what animals are, right? Animals are also living things, right? Yes, you know what animals are. The animals you see around you, right? Yes. So let's go straight to the lesson objectives. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to, number one, identify and describe different types of animals. You don't have just one type of animal. Is it the same animal you see walking around? You've been to the zoo, right? Is it just, okay, for example, an animal is a dog. A dog is an animal, right? So when you went to the zoo, was it just dogs you saw all through in the zoo? And those of that have not been to a zoo is a place where animals are kept for tourists or people that want to come in to see them. So we have different type of animals. So you'll be able to at the end of this lesson identify and describe different types of animals. Then number two, you'll be able to identify how animals are grouped by birds, reptiles, mammals, and insects. Let's jump right into the contents. Welcome. We are here to talk about animals. Welcome. So, we said, oh, no, we're here to talk about animals, right? So, animals are living things. You know what living things are, right? Living things are things that have life. So, animals are also living things. We've talked about plants as living things. So, now we're talking about animals as living things. So, animals are living things. Why? What are the characteristics of living things? Number one, you said they have life, they can walk, they can reproduce, right? Yes. So some there are different type of animals. Some are not too big, like dogs, goats, and sheep. Goats, and sheep, while some are small, very small, like rats. You've seen a rat before. It's also an animal and it's smaller than compared to the goats. So some are small, like rats, fish, and birds. You know birds, right? Those that fly in the sky. There are different type of birds too. So now some are very tiny, like insects. You know insects, the sugar insect, the small insect that walk around and carry food around. You know that, right? So let's go into the types of animals. So animals can be grouped into the following classes. Number one, birds. Two, reptiles. Three, insects. Four, mammals. Let's go again. Animals can be grouped into the following classes. Number one, birds. Number two, reptiles. Number three, insects. And number four, mammals. Let's go and explain them one after the other. So birds, these are animals that that have feathers for covering their bodies, wings for flying, and beak for feeding, and they lay eggs. So those are the characteristics of birds. Let's take it again. Birds have feathers for covering their bodies. So when you say bird that have feather, it is for what? For covering their bodies. They have wings, and their wings are for what? For flying. Fly, butterfly. You understand? So wings are for flying. They have beak for feeding. They don't, just like humans, right? This is my mouth. I feed with my mouth. I put my food through my mouth, right? But birds are not like that. They don't have mouth, they have beak instead. Their beaks are for feeding, and they lay eggs. They do what? They lay eggs. That is how they reproduce their young ones. Okay, they lay eggs. They sit on the eggs for a while. When they hatch it, their young ones come out of those eggs. Do you understand? Yes. So some birds live at home, and that's why they are called domestic birds. So birds that live at home are called domestic birds. For example, we have the duck, we have the parrot, we have the pigeon and chicken. I'm sure you've seen most of what I mentioned. Duck, you've seen a duck before, you've seen a parrot, you've seen a, I don't know if you've seen a pigeon, but you surely have seen a chicken, a fowl, yeah, fowl that walk around in our houses. So they are what? They are domestic birds. While others move freely as wild birds in the bush. We don't keep them as domestic birds. They are wild birds. So examples of such birds are owl. Do you have the owl? You see a picture of the owl. I'll insert a picture of the owl, so you see a picture of an owl. They are wild birds. We don't keep them close to us. They don't live with humans. They live in the bush because they are wild birds. Then we have the eagle. The eagle soars very high, just like how I would tell you that you should aspire to soar very high like an eagle. So the eagle soars very high. We don't keep them around us, so they are wild birds. We have the robin and we have the hawk. I will start some of the pictures. Do you understand? For those of that may not have seen them before. So number 2, we have the reptiles. Hope you understand the birds though. The birds, they are divided. They have their, let's look at it again. They have their feathers for covering their bodies. They have their wings for flying. They have their beak for feeding, and they lay eggs. They are divided into 2: domestic birds and wild birds. Do you remember? Yeah, right. Now let's go to number 2, reptiles. Reptiles have scales covering their bodies. They lay eggs and have the same kinds of teeth. So reptiles have scales covering their bodies. They lay eggs also. You know, we say birds lay eggs to hatch their young ones or to reproduce their young ones. Reptiles also lay eggs and have the same kind of teeth. Like humans, we say we have different kind of teeth. We have the molar, we have the premolar, we have the incisors, but reptiles have the same kind of teeth. Now, some of them are wild, like snakes. A snake. I'm sure I'm scared of a snake. So, yeah, snakes are wild animals. So, a snake is also a reptile. A snake is a reptile. Crocodile. Have you seen a crocodile before? I will insert a picture. For those of you that have not seen a crocodile before, you see a crocodile. I'll show you a picture of a crocodile. Very big and wild. Yeah. While some are domestic, that means domestic are the ones we see around us, like lizard that run about on the wall, wall gecko too that run about on the wall. Those ones are domestic reptiles too. Do we get that? Should we go over it again? Reptiles, they have scales covering their bodies, they lay eggs, and they have the same kind of teeth. Some of them are wild, like snakes and crocodile, while some are domestic, like lizard and wall gecko. Yes. Now let's go to the next category of animals. We have the insects. Insects are very tiny animals which usually live in the ground. I'm sure you have seen an insect before. Very small, small like this. Yeah. So they are tiny animals which usually live in the ground. They have 6 jointed legs, and their body is divided into 3 parts. Most insects have wings for flying. Let me look for an example of an insect that have wings. Mosquito. Yeah, that one that used to bite somebody's body and suck their blood. Yeah, a mosquito is an insect and it has wings for flying. Okay, the housefly we see too has wings for flying. Some insects do not have wings, like the sugar ant we see that walks on the floor, and those tiny insects, they don't have wings. So we are just saying insects. Some insects also have wings for flying. They have 6 jointed legs, and their body is divided into 3 parts. Do we get that? And they usually live in the ground, apart from mosquito, of course, that flies around. So now let's go to mammals. Mammals have hair or fur covering their bodies. Mammals have hair or fur covering their bodies. Don't forget, when we talked about birds, what do we say cover their bodies? Anyone? Their feathers, right? Reptiles, what are covering their bodies? scales. Insects. But for mammals, hair or fur cover their bodies. But unlike birds and reptiles that lay eggs, you remember, right? Birds and reptiles that lay eggs to reproduce their young ones. Mammals just give birth to their young ones alive. Like they get pregnant for their young ones and they give birth to them alive. Unlike birds and reptiles that lay their eggs and wait for them to mature before cracking the eggs and giving birth to their young ones, mammals give birth to their young ones alive and also breastfeed them. Examples of these mammals are goats, sheep, and cow. Do we get that? Yes. Hello, welcome back. So we learned about animals. Yeah, animals. Just animals. Only that we took it a bit further and learned about the different types of animals. We'll talk about the birds, the reptiles, the insects, and the mammals. So let's go to the keywords. Reptiles. We're just saying reptiles are those that have scales covering their bodies, the legs. So what are reptiles? What are reptiles? Reptiles are cold-blooded animals, right? Reptiles are what? Cold-blooded animals. For example, we talked about them already. Lizard and snakes. What are even cold-blooded animals? They are animals that cannot control their body temperature. They become sluggish in water or something. They become sluggish in water. Okay, so when we say cold-blooded animals, the animals that become sluggish in water, they live more comfort. There are some of them though, because we talked about crocodile as a reptile and it stays in water sometimes. So yeah, but reptiles are cold-blooded animals. So mammals are animals that feed milk to their young ones. We said it already that mammals give birth to their young ones alive, so they feed milk to their young ones. They breastfeed their young ones. Okay, so are we taking note of the spellings? Let's spell reptiles together. REPTILES. Reptiles. Again, REPTILES. Reptiles. Now let's go to mammals. 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 Do we get the spelling? Let's go again. 1, 2, 3. MAMMALS. Now let's go to feathers. When did we talk about feathers? We talked about feathers when we were talking about birds as a type of animal, right? We said they have feathers that cover their bodies. So what are feathers? They are light growths that make up the outer covering or body of birds. Let's spell feathers. 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 Again, FEATHERS. Feathers. Now let's go to our assessments. Let's work right into it. Number 1, birds give birth to their young ones alive and breastfeed them. True or false? Birds give birth to their young ones alive and breastfeed them. True. Yeah, true. True? No, false. False? No. What is the answer? Yeah, you're correct. False. Number 2, one of the following is a reptile. A, cow. B, snake. C, fly. Which one is a reptile? That should be easy. That is easy actually. So number 3, why do birds have feathers? Why do birds have feathers? I'm sure we can answer that correctly. And I'll see you in the next class. Bye.